Hello, students. You're viewing this video if you are interested in potentially changing your major to global studies, starting as a pre-global studies major, and also potentially if you're considering declaring global studies or pre-global studies rather as a second major. So this is just a quick video to guide you through the process of officially declaring the pre-major, whether it's a major change or a double major. So there's a little bit of an online process that we'll have you go through before you declare the major. And this is just going to allow you to do some research on the front end of what will be required of you as you get started in the major, some initial classes to think about, and sort of when to ask for help, when to come to us for advising on specific questions after you do this early research. So we're starting here on the Global Studies website. You may have been directed to start here either by one of our advising staff, maybe you received an email with a link to this page, or maybe you just did some Googling around and found it. This is our main department page. Definitely give it a look at your leisure, but we'll go ahead and start on the undergraduate tab. The main undergraduate page talks you through some department history, gives you some questions to think about if this major is correct for you, some very, very quick, career opportunities. We're going to go ahead and skip that part for now. We do recommend if you're thinking about being serious about changing your major, definitely spend some time on our website. But in terms of what actually to do to declare the major, we'll go ahead and jump straight to this undergraduate advising tab. And then from there, our main undergraduate advising page has some advisor contact information. We don't recommend that you just reach out to an advisor to ask for how to change your major. We say go ahead and if you're thinking that you're interested in the major, go ahead and fill out the Google form, which we'll show you how to access momentarily. And then, as part of the application process, if you do have specific questions, that's where we would definitely like you to reach out to us. But you don't need to reach out to us to ask us how to declare the major. So we do have a page called Joining the Major over here under our undergraduate advising section. And this has all of the steps that we will walk you through today. This is what it's going to look like on your side when you declare the major. So it's going to kind of prompt you to read the rest of the information on our main undergraduate page. We definitely recommend spending some time looking at the major requirements page. This is going to actually have links to our major requirement sheets and a few other planning tools. Our registration resources gets into the nitty gritty of what to sign up for each quarter and how to kind of plan out your schedule. The foreign language requirement will go more in depth on that tricky piece of our major requirements. So we definitely recommend taking a look at all of that. But again, this video is just going to be about what to do when you're ready to declare the major. So our first step that we ask everybody to do is to run their major and GE progress check on Gold. A lot of students have never done this when they think to change their major for the first time or officially declare a first major. This is 100% something that we recommend you start with. And we recommend that you do it at least once a quarter as you're working your way through your time here at UCSB. This allows you to get a pretty clear picture of what exactly you have completed, what requirements still remain, and it really just helps you with schedule planning, knowing how far along you are, knowing how long you have until you're ready to graduate, things like that. For a quick tutorial on how to do that, I'm going to go ahead and pull up in the separate tab over here a version of the major progress check program. It looks slightly different on Gold, but just know that when you navigate to Gold, you click Progress and then the major and GE progress check, and then you can actually change the drop-down menu to say Pre-Global Studies. Go ahead and turn on the Work in Progress option. It's going to look a little something like this. So major catalog year will say Automatic. Major is going to show up with many options. You'll pick Pre-Global Studies. The degree should pre-populate, and then you're going to turn on the little check mark that indicates that you want the system to show you work in progress. This means any classes you're currently enrolled in or enrolled in for a future quarter that are helping you potentially meet major requirements or pre-major requirements. When you have all of that lined up, you'll hit Run Check. And just know you can run this for any major pretty much on campus. You can kind of hypothetically see what it would look like to suddenly become a student in that major. So it's a good tool, especially if you're a double major, to kind of go back and forth between two potential majors and see what it is that you have to complete. I am going to carefully scroll down, so I'm not revealing, I am using an actual sample student in the major, but I'm going to go ahead and not reveal their name. So I'm going to quickly scroll a little bit past and then zoom out to show you what a major progress check looks like without actually revealing a student name. So yes, this is what a progress check looks like if you haven't already run one for yourself. As a pre-major or a potential pre-major, you're only going to see the pre-major requirements, the prep for the major requirements, and then a little notice here that says you have to get departmental approval to advance onto the full major, and it'll tell you a little bit about kind of the conditions of that here, and then what to do next. We're going to kind of ignore this part for now. One big downside to the progress check program is it doesn't let you see the full entire later upper division section of the major. So you'll kind of need to cross-check if you're a junior and beyond adding into this major. You're going to want to cross-check with a copy of the major sheet with what you've taken already, just to kind of see what later things you've done to complete the major or complete part of the major. But for now, since most people are going to be declaring the pre-major as a freshman or sophomore, maybe early junior year, we'll focus on pre-major requirements. So as we open up each of these sections, it will reveal what you have completed as well as what's left. So in this case, the student has completed Global 2, but still needs Global 1. This person took some transfer coursework from a community college, but it'll look slightly different depending on, if you completed transfer work or if you completed courses at UCSB. But our pre-major requirements are outlined here, Global 1 and 2, and 3 history courses chosen from a particular sequence as outlined on the major sheet. So we also recommend, as you do this progress check, that you go ahead and pull open a copy of the major requirements in this tab. And you'll kind of see some different year designations. When I'm making this video, it's July 2023, so you may see slightly different years, but just read the page and see what applies best to you. But if we open up this document, it'll open as a PDF. We'll zoom in a little bit just to see it. This will show you a sort of major sheet version, a little bit more easily visually translatable, I guess we'll say, than this kind of ugly typewriter font. So, but the progress check is definitely your most updated way of seeing how far along you are in the major. So definitely recommend checking there for the most updated version of how things are counting. So there's our pre-major. We'll open up the prep for the major section. The foreign language requirement, we do see prep area 1, so the student has met that with transfer coursework. The foreign language requirement lives underneath prep areas 2 and prep area 3. It is 2 separate pieces that work together. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time outlining the full foreign language requirement in this video, just because I do want to keep this one fairly short and sweet. But to delve into the foreign language requirement some more and what it means for you, especially if you have any unique situations with language, like you studied a language previously, maybe you're fluent in another language or have a family background in another language, we definitely recommend that you take some time to go over and explore this page on our website. It will give you a full rundown of some different ways with diagrams as to how you might think about fulfilling the language requirement, regardless of kind of what's your background with studying foreign language, either in high school or college, or just having a background growing up in that language. So not going to spend a lot of time on it right now, but just know how this displays can sometimes be confusing. So definitely do your research over here, and then definitely reach out to us, either an appointment, an email, or come to drop-in advising hours if you do have specific questions that you want addressed about language before you declare the major. Happy to help you with that. So that's just kind of a quick progress check to see what's going on so far in terms of meeting pre-major requirements. Once you're feeling confident that you're where you want to be in terms of those requirements, you can definitely at this point reach out for an appointment or reach out to us by email if you do have specific questions about what you're seeing in your progress check. But if you're feeling like, yep, you're ready to go ahead and join the major, we'll continue on to step 2. Now, step 2 pretty much just recommends a couple of YouTube videos on our channel, which you're currently watching. The changing the major video is that one. There is a foreign language video you could watch as well. And then if you have a little extra time, it's nice to also watch the video that explains the process of moving from pre to full major. You're also welcome to explore other videos on the channel. But if you didn't have the time, we did recommend for the videos, we did recommend at least visiting that foreign language page on our website, which is this one over here, and looking at our pre-major info sheet. So I'll go ahead and open up that one next. Actually, let me go ahead and open that in a separate tab. What's nice about our pre-major info sheet is it's a one-stop shop with some reference links for all of the policies you'll need to know. It's about 2 pages, front side, back side. All of the policies that you're going to need to know about what it's like to be a pre-major. We describe our GPAs, the combinations that we need, 2.7 plus combined GPA in Global 1 and 2, 2.0 combined GPA in the history cluster courses. Unlike a lot of other pre-majors on campus, there is no overall GPA that you need to get in order to get into the major, just these very specific combined GPAs for these two specific requirements. Any courses that you take for transfer coursework at a community college do not factor into your UC GPA. It's only the courses that you take here at UCSB, which can be great for some people, and it can also be a little bit scarier for other people if you have fewer classes to rely on that those GPAs pulling from. One big key thing to know is that you do not have to complete the section of the major sheet or the progress check labeled as preparation for the major before you can apply for the full major. That is not necessary. You do need to complete it by the time you graduate. That foreign language requirement and prep areas 2 and not 1 and 2, 2 and 3 definitely takes a lot of time to finish, but you don't have to finish all of that before you can move on to the full major. In fact, it makes more sense not to wait until you're all the way done with the pre-major or the prep for the major before declaring the full major. If you are like me and not a huge math person and you're wondering, okay, but how do I calculate those combined GPAs? There is a GPA calculator tool on the College of Letters and Science website. You can add a total number of courses. Let's say maybe you're trying to calculate your 3 history course GPAs. You would fill these in, number of units, letter grade, and then hit calculate, and it'll tell you combined across those 3 classes what your GPA is. If you're looking at just 2 classes, like for the Global 1 and Global 2 requirement, we have created a little bit of a chart that lets you see at a glance, if you got this grade in one of the 2 classes, this would be the other grade in the other class that you would need to get one of these white area GPA combos that would let you into the full major. These gray ones, combos, would be situations where you didn't meet the pre-major GPA. In terms of, is there an appeals process if you didn't meet that pre-major GPA? Keep in touch with us and we'll kind of see in a more holistic sense what's going on in the rest of your progress check. There is potentially room for you to appeal your application into the full major if you didn't meet these GPA thresholds. But basically, be ready to have a conversation with us so that we can get clear on whether this major is the right one for you before you move on to upper division major courses. There is some more information about GPA stuff. We'll skip that for the moment. When and how do I apply to change my major from pre-global to full global studies? Now, we're not going to go into this super intensely today because this video is more for the front end of the major where you are just joining the major, but it may come up within the next couple quarters for some of you. So just as a quick word, the main thing you need to know in terms of deadlines for when to apply to the full major is you apply during the quarter that you are completing pre-major classes. So whichever quarter it is that you are finishing your last pre-major courses, you are eligible to fill out this Google form, which again, linked on our website and linked in this info sheet. It's a Google form that will ask you to gather some information for us. You are eligible to fill out that during the quarter in which you are finishing your last pre-major courses, whether here at UCSB or through transfer coursework. You do need to fill that out before the end of finals week, but we don't start processing them until after final grades come out that same quarter, right? So let's say you're finishing your last pre-major course grades in a fall quarter. You can apply anytime from, between the start and the end of fall quarter, but we do not process your application until we see those fall quarter grades come out the week after finals. So we'll hold it. Once we see it come out, we will then, as soon as possible, send you a new change of major form electronically to your UCSB email address. So that is a little bit further down the line, but just to kind of give you the overall sense of the timeline. The second page of our info sheet is useful though for those of you just applying to join the major for the first time, because the second half includes some ideas for schedule ideas or some schedule options if you're in that stage where you're just declaring the pre-major and you need ideas for what to take, but you're blocked from enrolling in Pass 1 because you're not fully a declared pre-major yet. Maybe you just need some ideas for what to work on while you wait for your major status to shift on gold. So these would be kind of our suggestions: GE requirements, other prep for the major stuff. For our students that have upper division standing, there's a few other things that you could take a look at, other areas on the major sheet. But that is there if you did want to reference that, or reach out to one of our advising staff. Our peer advisors are really great to talk it over with in terms of ideas for things to take if you're not yet in the major. So back over here, this is where you can also, again, decide if you want to book an appointment. If you have longer questions or more complicated situations, maybe you have a lot of transfer coursework, maybe you have a really complicated foreign language situation, maybe you're just, you're double majoring and you're trying to figure out how to balance everything. If you just have very quick questions, a quick email to us at global-advising@ucsb.edu works well. Or you can look at our website. I'll show you where momentarily to attend our drop-in advising hours, sometimes in person, sometimes in Zoom, just depending on the schedule. That's just great for quick clarification questions and anything where you just need a quick answer on where you've done the majority of the research already, and to discuss that change of major process. So let's say, oh my goodness, I need an appointment. I am so confused, or drop-ins, or I need to, talk to an advisor with my questions. Back on the undergraduate advising page, we scroll towards the bottom. There's our email address that you can access. There's some information about booking appointments and drop-ins. Down here is where you'll meet your advisors. We do have our old previous peer advisors up, so you'll see new peer advisors when you're accessing this video. But it kind of gives you links to everybody's calendar and Zoom or in-person drop-in information depending on the advisor. So I recommend that you kind of click through the different links and find somebody whose schedule lines up with your schedule. Our peer advisors generally have better availability than our staff advisors, particularly if it's during registration season for a future quarter or during week 1 or 2 of the new quarter. So again, that's only if you feel like you've got some questions you need answering. If you are feeling confident, you are ready to submit the paperwork. And the paperwork looks a little bit different depending on if you're a or you're declaring pre-global studies as just a single major change, or if you are what might be called a simple major change, versus if you're declaring pre-global studies as a second major, if you're adding it as a double major. So there's 2 different Google Form sets that we'll show you. I'll show you those in a moment. Once you have completed those, then kind of not a lot happens. You just kind of wait for Gold to update your major change status. It can take 2 to sometimes as many as 6 weeks for that major change to take effect, for all the different offices involved to approve the paperwork and for it actually to change on Gold. The registrar is the final step that changes it. So sometimes they take a little while to update things. We do say to make schedule plans for the following quarter or the current quarter accordingly, depending on what time you're completing the change of major declaration process. And again, that pre-major info sheet has a lot of good ideas for what to work on if you're kind of caught in that timing of not quite a full major, not quite a pre-major, still waiting on the major change. While you wait for your major change to officially change and take effect, you will be added to our email list, so you can at least start getting some news about the major. So watch for that. 2 different major email lists, one just for regular registration updates and one with interesting opportunities, clubs, jobs, internships, things like that for global studies majors. We do actually link to archives for both of these email lists here and here as well. So you can always access these if you haven't officially started getting emails. Yeah, so that's an option. We have kind of a toolbox down here. This is our YouTube channel. If you did want to watch any of those videos referenced, we do have copies of our major sheet and our course planning sheet. I didn't go in depth on this video, but recommend that you take a look at it. Here's what I did want to end this video with for today. So we've got 2 sets of Google Forms that let you actually declare the pre-major or to add the pre-major as a second major. And this is what officially indicates to us as advising staff that you want us to process a change of major or double major paperwork for you. So for simple major changes, these are just from changing from one major to another, not double major adds and not pre-global study students applying to the full major. Use this linked Google form. We also have this button that you could click down here. I'll open that up and we'll take a look at it in a moment. We do check this once weekly, typically on Friday mornings, and we process our change of majors requests received from there. And then again, keep in mind, it takes 2 to 6 weeks for the full process to take effect. So if you're getting close to a pass time, do make other schedule plans while you wait for your major change to change. Again, go back to your progress check and see what else you might need to work on. Watch your UCSB email after filling out that Google form. Within the week of you filling it out, you're looking for an email from a service called DocuSign. If you don't see it, just know sometimes it hides in those other tabs in your Gmail browser. So be ready to go looking for it if you haven't gotten one from us by the end of the day on the Friday of the week that you have requested it. If you request on Friday, past the morning, very likely you're just going to be included in next week's. So that's kind of where that is. But do reach out to us if you know you declared the pre-major and you never got a DocuSign. For double majors, we'll go look at this one in a moment. But for just single major changes, this Google form will guide you through what you need to do. The steps will kind of be a recap of what I just showed you in this video. It's going to ask you to go back through the major requirements, run your progress check, and gives you a chance to book an appointment or come to get drop-in information if you did have additional questions. So it's just going to guide you through a few questions related to your status as a student at UCSB. And then from there, we gather your name, your email, and we send you a DocuSign to change your major. For double majors, it is a little bit more tricky. There is more involved. So there are 2 PDF forms that you will fill out and then upload them into a different Google form. So you'll fill out the change of major form that is linked on the, I'll open this up in a separate tab. You'll fill out the undergraduate letters in science major change form from the College of Letters and Science advising website. You can fill it out, the fields here within a PDF program and save it electronically if it's more comfortable for you to print it out and fill it in by hand and then scan it back in as a PDF file. That works as well. But it'll guide you through some basic questions, and then you're changing from whatever your current major is to pre-global studies. Catalog years, whatever year we're currently in, you want to put the full academic year. So for example, we're just wrapping up the 2022 to 2023 academic year. No emphasis. We don't have an emphasis in global studies. And then we will apply signatures for the department. The second thing that you need to think about as a double major is if you are declaring 2 majors at once that are not currently your major, you're also going to need to gather the department signature for the other department. So if you're declaring, for example, maybe your history right now and you're changing to pre-global studies and pre-political science, let's say, you're going to want to get the signature from the other department as well on this form and then send it to us in our Google form so we can add our signature. We will then send it on to the college for you. Back over here, the other piece of paperwork that you need to do as a double major is what's called a memo of understanding for double majors. There is a link again on the College of Letters and Science website. And the 2-page PDF file here is quite a bit more complex to fill out. So this is something where if you do get stuck, we highly recommend you make an appointment with one of our advising staff to kind of go through it with you. Definitely give it a try on your own first and then come to us with questions. The front side is sort of a miniature contract that shows you what the rules of a double major are. You fill in which 2 double major, which 2 majors you're thinking of adding to your UCSB records. And then you do tentative quarter and year that you're planning on graduating. For most people, this still ends up being spring of whatever is their 4th or year at UCSB or 2nd year if they're a transfer student. You're not being held to this. It's just kind of a tentative, at which point I will have completed a total of, this is where you're going to figure out this number and then signature and date. So this number, total number of units from both majors, you are going to calculate using the second page. So again, this lays out sections for both different majors, which degree they are. We're a BA, for example, and the units needed in the preparation for the major and pre-major and upper division major for both majors. This is again where you're going to have your progress check on Gold open and kind of do the math. It'll also guide you through looking at your GE requirements that you've taken, and you can check off whether or not you've satisfied them or still have units left that are remaining. And then total number of units go here. It's always better to overestimate if you're not sure. Like if you're currently enrolled in a class that fulfills something and it's still at the beginning of the quarter, go ahead and overestimate how many units you're going to need, right? Count that class as if you haven't done it yet. It's always better to overestimate the number of units it's going to take you to finish and then be surprised than it is to underestimate and then be stuck having to complete extra courses because you didn't calculate how many units total that you had. So total units still needed go here. Total number of units you've already completed, including transfer work, that comes from the top of your progress check. There's going to be a section that says units complete. It'll look a little something like this. Unit requirements and then units completed. Again, being aware of whether or not you have that work in progress option turned on, because that's going to affect the numbers you see there. And then total number of units you have already completed go here. You take this number and put it down here to give you total number of units you still need to complete. And then you add these 2 numbers together to get one big mega unit total. Double majors is not uncommon to go over 200 units. You may have heard that there's a 200 unit cap at UCSB for students to complete, but really that just means that UCSB wants you to complete, one or maybe two if you really wanted to do two majors or major and a minor by the time you are done with 200 units or 4 regular academic years, whichever comes later. So if you're making good progress and it just takes you over 200 units, but you can still finish within about 4 years, they're fine with that. If it's taking you a really long time, you're going into a 5th and 6th year, you're well over 200 units, you're not making any adequate progress on either of those two majors, that's where the college will just ask you to meet with them so that they can see what your plan is. But for the most part, it's okay if you have a number here that's well over 200 units. A lot of people worry about that. From there, you indicate quarter and year, again, of when you're thinking you're tentatively going to plan to graduate. That can change later, and that's totally fine. And once you have that quarter, year, and now total big number, mega unit count total ready to go, you put that over here. Whew. With both of those PDF files, you then come back over to our website, and then maybe go backwards. There we go. Go over to our website and find the button or the link here that takes you to declare a double major. It's going to seem very similar at the beginning to our single major change, which has disappeared in my CO tabs. But the big difference is you are going to be uploading the 2 PDF files that you created here and here. And that's pretty much it. That's the process. If you do still have questions, again, we don't want you to feel that you can't come to us with questions. Definitely book an appointment for a complicated issue, especially with foreign language requirement or double major questions, or visit us in drop-ins. Make sure to check our schedule online to see what drop-in availability we have and where, or email us, that works too. We just ask that you do some of this, research on the front end so that way you're coming to us with specific questions, and then we can help you from there. All right, and that is the change of major process. Thank you so much for watching. Please reach out if you have given it a shot and you still have questions.